And we're live with Rick Mauch. This is part 2 today. And the first one was Season of Giving. If you watch that, now we're getting into Bigfoot.
Squatchy and Squatchy.
For people listening, if you're not watching on YouTube, what we have here is Squatchy, which is a big, what would you say, about a 7 foot
7
cutout,
or 8 feet tall, yeah.
Cutout cardboard version. Is it cardboard?
He's a heavy cardboard. Yeah.
Heavy cardboard version of Bigfoot. A very nice likeliness.
My wife got me that about 4 years ago when we lived in Texas, and we lived on a corner lot. We had a grove of trees, and he used to have a wooden pole behind him that you couldn't see, but it allowed him to stand up. But when we moved, I took that off.
And where did you get it?
She got it online somewhere. But we lived in a corner lot with a grove of trees, and the street passing us was fairly busy. It was near the college. And I'd love to put him out in those trees and just pull out a lawn chair, and just sit there and watch while people drove by and their expression. Yeah, and
because I've been looking forward to this one for a while. I mean, you and I have become friends, and we've talked about the Bigfoot phenomenon, if you will, for a while.
If you search Facebook, you will see Squatchy in various poses. But one of my favorite is when he's dressed up in his Alabama Crimson Tide gear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I actually got my degree from the University of Alabama at Birmingham, which is part of the University of Alabama system. And at the time I graduated, UAB didn't have a football team. So, we all loved the Crimson Tide. So,
including Squatchy.
And that still continues to this day, Roll Tide.
And
if
what are you
wondering what to get me for Christmas? You can't go wrong with anything Crimson Tide.
Or Bigfoot related, I'm guessing.
Bigfoot related as well. Yeah,
I might have to remember that. And then what are you rocking over there? Your shirt. What do we got there?
Actually,
Bigfoot Days?
Yeah, this is one of many Bigfoot shirts that I have. This one I got 2019 up in Estes Park. They had their first ever Bigfoot. I believe it was their first ever Bigfoot festival.
Really? Last summer? Or?
It was, I think it was April of 2019. And it snowed while we were there. It was really, really cool.
How many people went to that?
There were a ton.
Like thousands, hundreds?
There were a few hundred people there, yeah, maybe even a couple thousand. I don't know. They were wandering around to different booths, and there were Bigfoot experts, people who had
what makes somebody a Bigfoot expert?
I think probably just
self-proclamation.
A lot of it is self-proclamation, but I think a lot of it too is just studying, going out in the woods where Bigfoot lives, and honestly, that's a good question. I don't know.
No, I'm harassing you a little bit about that.
But I mean, there are people who know a lot more about Bigfoot than I do, and honestly, I consider myself to know a fair amount, but I would talk to some of these experts, and it was really fascinating, the Bigfoot Festival, because I did get to talk and share some expertise, and as fellow Bigfoot nerds, I guess you'd call us, and I wear that badge with honor. It was really cool. We were going to go back this year. We hadn't moved up here yet this year. We didn't move here till July, but we were planning to come back to the festival in April. And of course, COVID had other ideas.
Yeah.
But there are Bigfoot festivals all over the U.S. And there was actually the number one Bigfoot festival in the U.S. Yes, they do rank them. Was actually in a town in Oklahoma. The name escapes me right now. I want to say it's Henobia.
Huh.
Hanoba. I believe that is
That's a
correct.
bit weird. I mean, why Oklahoma?
I don't know.
Huh.
I don't know. I wondered that myself.
So,
but they draw like 10 times what Estes Park drew.
But it's not because of sightings there or something. It's just
that is.
In Oklahoma, though? Not Estes Park. That would make sense. But I mean, okay, so before we get into that, just first of all joking aside, you believe, and I know Bigfoot's a big deal, whatever you want to call it, but you believe that Bigfoot.
I absolutely do.
When did this start? Like your whole life, or just?
No, I actually first heard about Bigfoot. My mom took me to we lived in Nacogdoches, Texas. And my mom took me to a movie at the SFA Theater, it was called. And it's not around anymore, but it was an old single-screen movie theater.
Oh, cool.
And I think I was probably, I guess I must have been 10 years old, because prior to the movie, I don't even remember the movie. For some reason, I want to say it was Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, but I'm not sure about that. But it was a Disney movie, I believe.
Oh.
But prior to the movie, they showed the Patterson film, which those of you who aren't familiar, 1969, 68, 69, Roger Patterson. And I've actually been to this location. So
is this the black and white footage?
No, this is color. Probably 8mm, I guess.
Okay.
And I've actually been. We'll circle back around to that in a minute. But I actually have been probably as close as you can get to that location. But they showed that film, and Roger Patterson he was out with his. I guess they were out hunting or camping. I don't know, but it was daylight, and it's the only filmed footage of Bigfoot where you can actually see Bigfoot turning around and looking back. And I saw that, and I'd never heard of Bigfoot. I was a kid. I had no idea. But I thought it was the most fascinating thing in the world. It kind of scared me.
Yeah.
Because being a kid, I didn't know that Bigfoot was more prevalent in Northern California and Washington than it was in Texas. I just knew that at the time we lived out in the country and we had woods, and
you put two and two together.
Mom, make sure all the windows are locked.
Well, and you're 10, yeah.
But ever since then, I've been fascinated. I remember I went to spend the night we had a sleepover, myself and a couple of other friends at a friend's house, and we all had motorbikes, and we snuck out around midnight and went riding around some back roads. We were going Bigfoot hunting. Now, we didn't see anything, of course, but it was so cool. So just as life went on, I just kind of picked up things here and there. You become a teenager, young adult, you get distracted, you don't think about it much, but then you come back around to it later, and I did. And when I did, it just kind of stuck with me.
And when was that?
Oh gosh, probably right after I got out of college. And I can't even tell you the circumstances that brought me back around to it. Yeah. But I read articles. I do belong to a couple of we were mentioned Facebook earlier. I do belong to a couple of Facebook sites that people post this and that, their thoughts about Bigfoot.
It's become a phenomenon.
Yeah,
I mean, there are a lot of Bigfoot enthusiasts.
There's one site in Arkansas that I belong to, and I visit with people. There's of course a site in Texas. There's that's another thing that Facebook is great for. It's bringing groups like that together that have a common interest.
Sure,
and it's cool. But yeah, I do believe,
So you've never seen Bigfoot, though. I mean,
I haven't. I used to drive when I lived in Texas. I used to drive 30 minutes to work, and there was a lot of woods between Weatherford and Granbury, the two towns that I drove between. And I always said, I know, we've had sightings in East Texas, and
And that's an interesting point, because there's a website, right? Isn't that how you know? Because you showed me one day that you can go to a website and then it'll show you,
I always thought if I just happened to hit Bigfoot on one of those trips, all my worries would be over.
Oh yeah.
I'd be instantly
Well,
famous.
then you'd be like,
I'd
all right,
instantly
there are all
rich.
my worries.
Of course,
Thank you, Bigfoot.
I'd probably be like John Lithgow and Harry and the Hendersons, and I'd take him home. But
Yeah, that's actually a good movie.
yeah, it
It
is.
is. It's a fun movie. Well, no,
but yeah, I do. I have an app on my phone that if there's a sighting.
What's that called? So if anyone listening or watching, if you want to get it.
Oh, you know what? It's one of
because I remember you pulled that website up and you
Yeah,
showed me that you could actually see like real time
where
there are. So and then you mentioned like with certainty that
it's the Bigfoot Research Organization. Go to bfro.net, and it's a geographic database of Bigfoot, Sasquatch sightings and reports. And I can go to any state. For example, Colorado.
Yeah, I was going to say go to Colorado.
128 total sightings.
Since when?
Since I guess
since the app was
since I started this, which was a long time ago.
Does it tell you when the most recent one was?
It certainly does. Most recent report was February of 2020.
Huh. Where at?
And sometimes it'll give you those details, and sometimes it just tells you that it was a sighting. But let's look and see if we can get that. The most recent sighting that it gives you details on was July of 2019 in Summit County. A daylight sighting by hikers at Mayflower Gulch outside Leadville.
Really?
Yeah. May 19th, Larimer County. A possible Sasquatch photo or blob squatch.
What's a blob
I
squatch?
have no idea. That's the first time I've heard that expression. Not sure I want to know, because to this day, the movie The Blob scares the hell out of me. It does. You can't kill it.
No, it's a blob.
You can't kill it.
Yeah, you can't. That's true.
But possible Sasquatch photo or blob squatch from Storm Mountain, 10 miles northeast of Estes Park. Now, Estes Park has had a few sightings.
That's kind of why that festival was up there?
I've actually talked to a couple of people in Estes Park. Not at the festival, actually at other times. There are a couple of shops that sell Bigfoot shirts and what have you, and they will tell you, yeah, somebody saw one, a month and a half ago out on whatever.
You almost have to think
highway.
there has to be something there. I don't know if I'm 100% a believer, but it carries such notoriety, and it's been around. You just look, there's smoke, there's fire. Sometimes you think, and you seem to think like Northern California. Where did you say that the main sightings were? Northern California.
Washington has the most, I believe, the state of Washington. But Northern California has a lot. Oregon has a lot. Back in 2018, for my birthday, my wife actually surprised me. We went to Willow Creek, California, which, by the way, if you ever get a chance, it's one of the better Bigfoot movies. And of all the people to direct it, Bobcat Goldthwait.
Really?
Yeah. It's
What's it called?
It's called Willow Creek.
And it's a Bigfoot movie?
Yeah, it's a Bigfoot movie, and it's kind of a found footage kind of movie, but it's really good. Really.
So is that like from the 80s or the 90s? Or?
No, actually, it was, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, something like that.
Huh.
Yeah. And it's one of those movies. It's what you don't see that scares you.
Okay.
Man, but we went to Willow Creek, and he actually filmed it around Willow Creek. Willow Creek is where just north of, I think it's north of Willow Creek, is where Patterson shot.
Oh, where the Patterson sighting was.
Yeah. And it's just a short film that he shot. He saw it. I think he was surprised off of his horse or jumped off, but he and his partner, I don't know if he shot it or his partner did. It's called the Patterson film, so I guess he did.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look that up now.
But yeah, it's just you can see the creature walking along and turning to look. But Willow Creek it's called the gateway to Bigfoot country. So my wife surprised me, and we went there for 5 days, and it was so cool. Didn't see a Bigfoot. didn't even see any tracks, but talked to so many people who had so many stories to tell.
People that live there?
Yeah, people that live there. And just going out in the woods where, they've told you this story, and then you go out where they're telling you, yeah, I saw this here. This tree was bent over, and you can actually see evidence like that. And that's one of the things Bigfoot is known for, is being able to bend small trees that no way a human could do it, because you just, try bending a tree, try reaching up and bending a tree and permanently bending it. I mean, not a little tiny tree that
you could snap, but a big one that you couldn't.
And I'm talking bending. I'm not talking breaking. I'm talking
just bending.
So, to be in that environment and hear these stories as you're out where the story happened.
That's pretty cool.
It's both a little bit chilling, but fascinating. My wife always says, if I saw Bigfoot, I'd be scared half to death. And I always say, yeah, but the half that lives what an amazing story I'd have.
Yeah.
I really can't describe anybody who is enthused by Bigfoot. You have to make a trip to Willow Creek. You really do. We stayed in the Bigfoot Motel. And
there's a Bigfoot motel.
There's a Bigfoot motel. We had a Bigfoot.
Nice.
We had a Bigfoot burger at the restaurant there, and it's not that big a town. It's
that's what they're known for.
It's probably
right.
Yeah, it's probably maybe half the size of Burlington. It's not a big town at all, but it's in the middle of nowhere, and it's just so cool. The woods are literally right up on all the businesses. You walk out any back door and walk 10 feet, and you're in the woods. There's Bigfoot memorabilia all over the place, Bigfoot murals, and just the very thought that at any, just the very thought that even though you can't see it,
they could be lurking.
There's something out there looking at you.
Yeah.
You get that feeling the entire time, even just walking down the main street there, because, as I said, it's a very small town. It's surrounded by woods. And then to actually go into those woods is an even more special feeling, because even though you can't see it, you get the feeling that it's watching you.
What do you think it is? Because you said you were reading a book, right? I mean,
I am. I started
because you've researched this, so you would be a pretty good person to talk to about whether or not it's real or not, and what you think it is, and where it came from. And
well, I do definitely think it's real. As to what it is, a few theories on that. Of course, a lot of people think it might be the missing link.
What do you mean by that?
Well, again, Darwin's theory of evolution, and I'm not saying I buy into Darwin's theory of evolution. I'm just saying that people present this as a possibility. But I also think there's a possible biblical connection, and we'll come back to that in just a second as well. But some people think it's a missing link, as man evolved from apes. That Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call it, is the missing link, and he does go by a lot of names. There's Bigfoot, there's Sasquatch. He's called, I can't remember, it's Louisiana or Florida, but he's called a skunk ape. I actually have a deck of cards. I wish I'd brought them. I have a deck of cards at home that has all the names that he's called.
Like 52 different names
around the world. Oh, some of the cards, they're not all what he's called. Some of them are just facts about Bigfoot, this and that.
No,
but included in the set is every name that he's called around the world, from Yeti to
Yeti. So a Yeti's a Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's probably another strike like in his favor. Right? That, it's not just here in North America. There's been sightings and other people in other cultures.
Bigfoot has been seen pretty much pretty much everywhere around the world. In the United States, there have been sightings in 49 of the 50 states, the one exception being Hawaii. And Hawaii has its own interesting story in that they do have a creature that resembles Bigfoot that people claim to have seen, but he's smaller than a human.
Huh.
It's more like a mini-me, a mini Bigfoot, if you will.
Gotcha.
And I've studied that a little bit because
I'll have to look that up now too. Thanks.
That kind of blew my mind when I saw that. I thought, what?
Yeah.
All this talk about how tall he is and all this, and then they've got,
But
they've got
Yetis are white, right? Or are they supposed to be more of like a tundra or a Arctic?
Well, the stories.
Maybe I'm thinking of the abominable snowman.
Well, they're
right?
one and the same.
Oh, are they one and the same?
The abominable snowman is another name for Yeti. And yeah, legend has it that they're white. I mean, I don't.
Well, if they're
sure,
blending in with snow and stuff,
that
would make sense.
The legend has it that they're white. And, I guess maybe that's where it all started, because I actually, the first Bigfoot sighting in America, don't pin me down to a date here, but when I went back and did some research, it seemed like there were some sightings of the abominable snowman before there were Bigfoot. Now, again, it's been a long time since I've done that, so I could be mistaken there, but for some reason I'm thinking that people in the Himalayas and what have you would report seeing, and then once we had a sighting or two here in America, they just kind of took off as well. Got the name Bigfoot because of the footprints. Pretty, pretty simple story there. Yeah. Just a guy saw giant footprints, and
I think they found footprints and cast it, and right. I mean, that's real,
and that's pretty much where the name here in America came from. But yeah, Willow Creek is just a fascinating place. I want to go back there. We actually in Texas had a sighting that was maybe 11 or 12 miles from where we lived. Now, it actually happened. We moved to that particular house in 2012, and the sighting was in 2011. And it was near a little town called Aledo. And a group of gas drillers opened up camp there, and they noticed eyes peering over a fence at them.
That's creepy.
Yeah, the fence was about 8 foot tall, they said. And they noticed that, rocks were being thrown at the wells when they would start making the noise and start pumping. And those are, rock throwing is a sign it's a Bigfoot defense mechanism.
Huh.
No one ever got hurt. No one ever really officially saw one. But they kind of assumed, looking back, that's what it was. I tried my darndest to find someone associated with that. And I got as close as someone who knew one of the workers. And I thought, okay, good, he's going to connect me with him. But when I tried calling the number, it was
this to do a news story on, or just kind of a clip, or see what came out of it?
I just wanted to talk to him, and if it led to a story, that's great.
But you couldn't get a hold of him, huh?
No, the number was disconnected, and the guy had no idea where they moved after the gas rig. They finished what they were doing and they moved on, and there's been no more sightings in the area since. But just goes to show you that he is everywhere.
Yeah. And then do they think that he lives in the forest predominantly, underground, above ground, and
very heavily.
Bigfoot huts? I mean, what?
Well, we don't know,
I guess we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know if it's caves. We don't know if it's underground, what have you. We don't know why there's never been a body found. I mean, perhaps they eat their own. Who knows? I mean, that is a theory that,
Is it?
It is a theory that, Bigfoot dies, they eat them. So
I mean, it's not outlandish by any means.
no, it's not. And then, of course, animals come along and pick the bones and what have you. But he does live in heavily forested areas. That's pretty much a given. So I don't know that we're going to see very many down here on the plains, but
No, not out here.
you never know.
No. Well, and there was the last sighting was in Destus. So take me back really quick to the biblical part. What's the tie-in there?
My wife and I were sitting around one day, and she was talking about David and Goliath, and Goliath being a giant, and she said, "You think he was a Bigfoot?" And then she went into detail about Goliath's people. They were giants. David defeated Goliath. And is it possible that after that defeat, they went into seclusion and began the transformation to what we have today?
Over time.
Over
into
time.
a Bigfoot. Okay.
Over time. That at one time, they were I mean, Goliath wasn't really a civilized person, I mean, they, instead of progressing as most of us have done,
They regressed.
they regressed.
Interesting theory. Is that what that book says that you're reading?
No. The book I'm reading is set in modern times, but that is
gotcha.
that is a theory that my wife and I have thought that at some point we might move forward with a book. It would be fictional, because there's no evidence that happened, but it would be based on. From David toppling Goliath, Goliath's entire civilization regressed from that moment. So right now it's just a thought.
Yeah, that would make a good book.
It is something that my wife has actually done a lot of research.
You are a writer. That'd be like a Michael Crichton book.
I love Michael Crichton.
Yeah, but that's what it would be like.
I absolutely love Michael Crichton. If he had rewritten the phone book before he died, I would have read it.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah, my wife has done a lot of research, and she has some copious notes at home. And one of these days, that is a project that we're looking to tackle.
What was the book? Because you were telling me about it, and it was by the author. The book that you're reading, what's it called?
It's called Devolution.
Max
Brooks, the guy who wrote World War Z. And
that was the zombie movie with Brad Pitt?
Brad Pitt, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they may very well make a movie out of this as well. It's a fictional story based on a found journal. They found this lady's journal, and what has happened in her journal, as she describes, and I'm only 3 chapters in, but I'm hooked. Mount Rainier has exploded, has erupted. Mount Rainier has erupted, and this little area called Green Loop, which is near Seattle, was isolated as a result of the explosion. Well, along with the people who got isolated, a lot of Bigfoot as well.
Oh, after the explosion?
After the eruption,
that's a good story.
So it's basically a battle of survival between the Bigfoot, which are not really known to be violent.
Right.
But survival makes you do things.
Sure.
And then you've got the humans over here who all the technology in the world no longer matters.
Mm.
All the streaming services, all the phones, all the technology.
You're just fighting to be alive.
It's just a battle of who's going to win between the Bigfoot and the
That sounds
the
interesting.
people. Yeah, and like I said, I'm only 3 chapters in, so
No,
I haven't
yeah.
really got into the meat of it.
But it's a good concept.
But
I mean,
can't wait to, because they're all isolated there.
yeah.
They've all been isolated by this eruption, and nobody's coming to help.
That'll be interesting to see how that turns
Yeah.
out. How'd you find out about that book?
First of all, I liked World War Z, and
Did you read that or just see that or both?
no, I both.
Yeah.
Both.
It's a good movie.
It is, and it's a good book too. Max Brooks is a good writer. I like his style, and so when I saw that this was coming out, the combination of a writer that I like plus a Bigfoot novel.
That's yeah.
Yeah, so and Kindle does this wonderful thing. They let you sample the book. You can read a couple
before
chapters.
you have to buy it.
Yeah,
That's
and
really
so
cool.
I read a couple of chapters in the sample, and said, yeah, I got to read this.
What else has Max Brooks written? Anything that I know?
Not off the top of my head. And honestly, I've only read the one book plus this one, but
It's been like 8 years since I've seen that movie, but I think I'm going to watch it.
But
again.
I know he has, and plus another thing I like about Max Brooks is I've seen him speak on a few programs, and he's a very knowledgeable person. Aside from his writings, he's just a very knowledgeable person, and to me, if I like what you have to say, odds are I'm probably going to give you a chance if you are a writer, if you're an entertainer. Just out of respect for the fact that you have shown me that you're an intelligent person, so I'll give it a listen. If it's a performer, I'll check out part of your movie or TV show.
Yeah,
I'm just that way. If I think, hey, this person is pretty intelligent, so I assume they're probably good at their craft.
yeah.
It's not always the case, but
Yeah.
typically there is a connection there. If somebody shows themselves to be an intelligent person, usually they're going to be really good at what they do.
And if they're passionate, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So how many the event you went to in Estes Park, and you said that you were going to go again this year at Estes. Was that an annual thing they did?
Well, I think last year was the first one, but it was going to be an annual thing. Yeah.
How many of those have you been to?
Well,
Is that the first one?
That's the first one. That's the only one. We were going to go to the one in Oklahoma. And we've been talking about doing that for years, but the reason we didn't is when I was in Texas, I covered high school football.
Okay.
It was just part of the thing that I did, making a living as a freelance writer. Plus, I've always liked high school football. And the festival is always in the fall. And we just couldn't work it out where the schedule would get us up there, which is ironic because the festival that's closest to us was the one that conflicted with any time we wanted to go. They actually started a Texas Bigfoot Festival down by Houston, and it's in the summer, and we were actually going to go to it this year.
Ah.
But then COVID hit,
Yep.
and we moved. So, but we may actually get back to that. But the one in Oklahoma is really good. There's one in Ohio that's pretty good. They actually list the top 10 Bigfoot festivals, and I have it. Nerd me, I do have them listed. But there's one in Ohio that's really good. There's a couple in Northern California, one, of course, being in Willow Creek that you would expect to be good.
What about Colorado? Are there any other places other than Estes?
The only one I know of in
I don't think
Colorado
I've seen
is
it.
Estes Park, yeah.
Huh.
One thing that now Colorado's had a lot of sightings, and there's a guy who runs a place called the Sasquatch Outpost. Jim, I'm giving you a plug if you're listening. or watching.
We'll tag him. So where is he at?
He's in Bailey, Colorado.
Really?
Yeah, and he runs a place called the Sasquatch Outpost, and
right off the highway, or
no, you got to be going back up into the mountains to get to it. But there's been a lot of sightings around there. He has a Bigfoot museum. He has on the wall. He has a map with all the sightings. He has seen Bigfoot, I believe, and he will take people out, much like you see on TV, the Finding Bigfoot people.
Yeah,
he'll take people out and do things like knock on trees, and it's like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and he's promised to do that with me. And when we lived in Texas, obviously it was much more difficult to get set up. We tried 2 or 3 times. We kept saying, I would keep saying, well, I'm coming up there, so let's plan on doing it. And then something would happen. For example, the Bigfoot Festival. Rick, I can't do it because I've got to go have a booth at the Bigfoot Festival. So let's reschedule. And then I found it ironic that now we live here,
and you can't go.
And I can pretty much go up there any time.
And you haven't. Yeah.
But we've got COVID.
Yeah. What's it called up there in Bailey?
It's called the
Sasquatch Outpost.
Sasquatch Outpost. Yeah.
Huh. And then, so when you're going, have you been up? You been to Bailey?
Yeah, I've been there a couple times.
So when you're heading up to Bailey, and I think it's 285. Whatever the highway is there, when you get past.
I use GPS, so.
Yeah, when you get past Evergreen or whatever. So it's like it's further back in somewhere. It's not like right off the highway, huh?
Again,
I'll look it up.
The only thing I know about that area is I've been there, and
I've never
with
seen
GPS,
it, so it must not be.
I couldn't get back without a GPS, but I do. There is a road that runs through there, but I don't know if it's a.
But you knew about it before you moved here, so it must be like a national thing where everyone knows about it.
I found out about it really because I just Googled. I wanted to see if there was a Bigfoot museum in Colorado.
Huh.
I've been to the one in Willow Creek. I've been to one in California, and I thought surely Colorado has a Bigfoot museum, and that's it. So. I found out about it purely because of Google, and then we took a trip down there when we were visiting with Kinsley up in Denver, and been back one other time since. And I am going to do that. I'm
going to do it too.
Pumped about doing it. It's just
and take my 7-year-old up there. I don't know. That could be scary.
I am excited about going out in the woods at midnight and.
Yeah, now doing that, yeah.
Now, my wife says she won't go with me. Not because, I don't know if she believes or not. But she says Bigfoot is not the reason she doesn't want to go in the woods at midnight. She says, there are real animals out there.
That is true. There are real bears.
And my son doesn't want to go. He says it would bore him. But my daughter says she'll go. So
does she live in Denver? Or?
She does. She lives in Denver.
Maybe once COVID's past us, huh?
Yeah, well, plus she's getting married next May, so
congrats!
Probably,
that's awesome.
Probably do it after that. But yeah, I am excited. That's people ask, well, what are you going to do when COVID's over? I'm going out in the woods look for Bigfoot.
That's awesome, man. Well, anything else that we need to know about Bigfoot before we need any other things or?
Oh gosh.
Convince us
some of the places that you'd never expect to have a sighting. For some reason there's been a lot around San Antonio, Texas.
Huh.
Yeah, I know you wouldn't think that. There's in fact Texas itself. Last I saw, and this was a year or so ago, had 249 sightings, I think.
That's weird. Because, I totally get Colorado and I get Washington and Oregon and Northern California, but Texas, I just don't, but 49 to 50 states.
Oklahoma has a lot of
I bet sightings. Alaska. What about Alaska?
Yeah, a fair amount, but not as many as you would think.
Grizzly bears, survival of the fittest.
Yeah, exactly. There's a really cool song that you should Google. It's called the Henobia Bigfoot song. And I'm not going to sing the whole thing, but part of the chorus is, if you hunt Bigfoot, Bigfoot may hunt you. But
Nice.
yeah, no,
Did you hear that? Is
uh,
there a Bigfoot beer?
there's not a Bigfoot
Why
beer
not?
that I know.
Doesn't that make you
No,
wonder? I mean, shouldn't there, like a brewery, why would you not have a Bigfoot beer?
I may be wrong on that.
Do you have your phone? Can you Google that?
I
I'm
have
going to have
a-
Sam Google that.
if there is, I'm going to order some.
Because I was going to say, if I had a Bigfoot beer right now, I'd drink it.
I have quite a few Bigfoot shirts, and the most recent, actually, one of my coworkers, Kent, was telling me about, and I ordered it, and it's
Is there?
It's a thing, yeah.
there is.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, Sierra Nevada is
The Sierra Nevada Bigfoot.
okay, I gotta-
Oh,
I
man.
order some of those.
Really? So there, no kidding.
So
see?
so the most recent shirt I got is it says, I'm the one who brought beer to Daryl. On the,
there you
on
go.
the commercials.
Yeah.
I have a Bigfoot tie. Bigfoot
Well, you have a
hat,
lot of ties.
I have
so-
a Bigfoot hoodie. I wore my Bigfoot socks today.
Oh, look at that. That is nice.
I don't have Bigfoot underwear.
No?
I'm not going to get that close to it.
Bigfoot ugly sweater for the ugly sweater.
I don't know, but I have a Bigfoot hoodie.
Yeah, that's close.
It says he's the world's hide and seek champion.
That's good.
I have Squatchy. I have a Bigfoot keychain, which I got in Manitou Springs just recently, in fact.
Oh, that's cool. You know, the best thing, too, is nobody can disprove it.
No.
I could sit here and be like, I just do not believe in it, but I couldn't disprove it. I mean, I can't tell you for sure that it doesn't exist.
I honestly think that within 5 years,
It'll be declassified.
with phones, with cameras on phones being what they are, technology being what it is, I think we're going to have
We very well
a
could.
picture of Bigfoot, an actual. Well, I have a theory about that.
It could just be
When
an
people
animal.
say, "Why can't we get a picture of Bigfoot that's not blurry?" Bigfoot himself is blurry.
It could be.
The pictures are clear. It's just Bigfoot is blurry.
Well, think about what that could be. Seriously, I mean, if he's evolved, we don't understand everything and every species. We're finding stuff in the ocean all the time. I mean, that could be his thing, to be blurry. It could be some kind of a camouflage or something. Or like you said, it's so remote, and now with phones getting so good, you're going to be able to have phone signal almost anywhere.
I love the theories and the thoughts that surround the myth, if you will, the legend, whatever you want to call it. I once said to someone about the Bible, and I don't mean to be controversial when I say this, so please don't anyone listening or watching take it wrong. But I have said about the Bible, you put 100 people in a room, give them a Bible verse, you're going to have 100 different opinions. I think that's a good thing. I think that's something that, and I'm not about to sit here and say what God might or might not have done, but I think that's a good thing because it keeps the Bible in the conversation. It keeps people talking about it.
Well, and it's interpretation, and
Yes.
nobody's perfect. Nobody knows everything.
So, and the same is true with things
Bigfoot.
like Bigfoot, why do we have to see something to believe? Again,
It's
coming
true.
back to the Bible, we don't
faith.
see those things, we believe.
I got you.
But there's a bunch of different theories out there about Bigfoot, and I love them all. Is he the missing link? Is he? Did he start out in Asia and cross over before the land masses broke up?
Left behind by aliens. I think I saw that one.
Is he from another planet?
It could be
I mean,
interdimensional right now,
you've
and
got-
that could be the blurry.
You've got all these wonderful theories that are out there, and yeah, we could dismiss it and say, oh, I don't believe in that. You don't have to believe to talk about it.
No.
I mean, just it's
Well, and plus we have
fascinating
so many
conversation.
serious issues going on right now. It's just nice to talk about something a little different.
It
I didn't think I'd be
really
talking about
is.
Bigfoot right now, but
You know, some people say, well, is he mean? I think he's like any other animal.
yeah.
I mean, how many times are we told, oh yeah, you can pet him. He loves everybody. A dog, I mean.
Oh yeah, I was like Bigfoot. I doubt it.
And then you go around the corner and somebody else says, yeah, don't get close. He bites. Well, I mean, animals have personalities.
Yeah, not every Bigfoot is going to be the same either.
No. I mean, they're some are gonna have bad personalities. Some are gonna have nice personalities. They're just like
Dogs,
anybody
chimpanzees,
else.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a creature like anything else.
Fair enough.
And I don't think they're violent by nature. I don't. I mean, I've heard stories of this and that, and of course they make movies where Bigfoot crushes people's heads and things. I don't like those movies, but I can't say I haven't watched them.
Right.
But I think it's a creature like many others, and with it is a lot of personalities. Did you know Teddy Roosevelt had a run-in with Bigfoot?
Really?
Now, he didn't see it.
But he said that?
Yeah, and I'm not familiar with all the details of it. I actually meant to Google that before I came up here today. I knew there was something I meant to do. But yeah, there is a legend that connects Teddy Roosevelt to Bigfoot. Yeah.
Huh.
I think it's someone that Teddy Roosevelt knew.
Well, I'm going to Google that.
As the story goes. But
I'm going to Google the Hawaiian mini me Bigfoot. I'm going to Google the Bigfoot beer. So I've got a few things to go.
Got to order some Bigfoot beer. Yeah.
I know. I'm going to get you that for Christmas. So, all right, man. Well,
I actually have a shelf in my office that I've been looking to put something on. So that may be it.
That'd be it. Well, thanks for coming in and talking about this. A little more lighthearted, conversation with everything coming on.
I will, Squatchy and I will talk Bigfoot anytime.
Okay.
Squatchy actually has a brother. I didn't bring him, but we actually have another cardboard cutout that's not as.
That one's cool.
This one is pretty accurate, I think, to what you would see if you ran.
Where did
into
you
a
get that one
Bigfoot.
again?
My wife got this for me.
But where?
She just ordered
Found
it
it
online.
Oh, ordered it
for
online.
Christmas.
Oh.
But I actually have another one that someone got me. It's call it blotchy because it's supposed to be a Bigfoot, but it's more like a black outline on a white cardboard background. Nobody's really going to mistake it for. Now
that one's got
you can
detail.
see this and you can go, what in the world?
You just reminded me of the other thing I got to Google.
We have Squatchy and Blotchy.
What was that? It was a blob? Is that what it was called? The blob squatch.
I have no idea what that is.
I'm going to find that out.
That movie terrifies me.
Yeah.
I saw it when I was a kid, and you can't kill it.
You can't.
You can't. Anytime I'm flipping around and that's on, it's one of those things. It's one of those things you see it and you go, I'm not going to watch it.
And then you watch it.
And then
That's
you
like The
stop
Thing.
and then you stop and you watch it and you go.
It's like a lot of those movies back then. The Thing, that was a good one too. Did you ever see that?
Oh yeah. James Arness. And then of course Kurt Russell did a.
Kurt Russell
really
is the one I
remake.
was referring to.
Yeah. We're talking about an underrated actor. But that's
another
whole other
podcast.
subject. But yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, I will say this. I'm glad we live in Colorado. If for no other reason, and there are many reasons that I'm glad we live here, but if for no other reason, the fact that at least half of the year it's below freezing. So
yeah. Well, and again, thanks for coming in on this one.
That's how you don't kill the blob, you freeze it.
No, you freeze it. Yeah. I knew what you were saying. With the Bigfoot though, I was going to tell you this is going to go live next week. So I think it's going to be Thanksgiving probably. And I don't usually watch these or listen to them a lot of times because I lived it, This one I think I'm going to rewatch on Thanksgiving. So thanks for coming in, man.
They need to do TV special, A Bigfoot Christmas.
Okay. Our big thing. All right. Right on. Thanks, Rick.
I'll let you know how the book goes also.
I'll get you that beer.
All right.
Hold
man.
me to it. All right. Thanks, bud.
Thanks.
We're up.